My favourite talk I've ever seen at the Truth Juice, and Darren's sort of revamped it for us. It's Searching for the God thing. I don't know if any of you saw it when Darren did it. Absolutely amazing. I can't stress how good Darren's talks are. Some of you will know Darren and have met Darren, absolute star. Another thing, I'm doing a little bit of a talk about Truth Juice for Rachel at the Mind, Body, Spirit Fair in Ellesmere on the 14th of August.
That's Ellesmere, Shropshire, not Ellesmere Port.
Ellesmere, Shropshire, not Ellesmere Port.
Two totally different places.
Yeah. Oh, I had one of the stallholders say to me on Sunday, "See you at Ellesmere Port then?" No! Don't! No. It's Ellesmere.
So there you go. So please come next week. It will be fantastic.
By the lake.
Jack and Anne. There we go.
Sounds great. Thank you. Now, this is not in the book. This is just something because I'm a researcher. So I just love researching stuff around this. So we're going to find some tools that might illustrate certain points and I'm going to do it. Now what I'd like you all to do is just look at that chart. And these are 5 levels of brain states. See there on the left-hand column, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The top brain state, when you're almost in bliss, is when you feel joyous, your thoughts are abstract, any relationships are intimate relationships, you feel totally connected to everyone else, and your behaviour is optimal. Brain state 2 is when you feel balanced, your feelings are balanced, your thoughts are concrete and positive, your relationships are friendly, you're totally aware of things, and you feel all your behaviour is healthy. Brain state 3 is the feelings are mixed. This is when the stresses start to come in. Your thoughts tend to be rigid and down one particular path. Your relationships are okay. Nobody really know that you had a problem. You're unaware of your connection, and your behaviour can be good or bad. The brain state 4, your feelings are unbalanced. You start to lose the plot. Your thoughts are reactive and random. Your relationships are either very needy in your relationships or distant, hands off. And you're totally disconnected, and your behaviour is unhealthy to you and other people. In brain state 5, you feel totally overwhelmed. Your thoughts are irrational. Your relationships, you're totally merged and codependent, or you're totally disengaged. You feel totally lost and obsessed with certain thoughts, and your behaviour is destructive. So there's the extremes. Now what I'd like you to do is, all of you, please choose one of those brain states that you spend most of your time in. Just give yourself a number. I hope it all makes sense. So, would anybody care to admit to being mostly in brain state 1? If you are, just put your hands up.
I can't read it up, can't tell you.
No, that's great. Brain state 2.
Brain state 1.
Mm?
Wonderful. This is very reassuring. Brain state 3. Now who's going to admit to these next two? Brain state 4. Yeah, and 5.
I've been in number 5.
Everybody.
Why am I in
Everybody has all of those. Everybody in this room, certainly including us. It's whether you're habitually in them.
I'll read it later.
Now, we're just going to do a little exercise. If you're in 4 and 5 habitually, you need to get out of it. It's not healthy. It's not good. We've all been there. When the sat-nav wouldn't work, I was in brain state 6. I could, believe me, you didn't want to be around. But it was only for about 5 minutes.
If you're in, what was that one, number what?
I'll read it to you later on when you see him on YouTube.
So, and the other thing that's quite fascinating when I was reading some of this stuff, if you're in brain state 1, you can also feel sad. It's possible to feel sadness in brain state 1. Interesting stuff. So, you all give yourself a score. What I'd like you to do now, we're going to take you through this process. We've not done this before, it's completely new. So, what you all, just a process. Become aware of your breathing now. Just pay attention to your breathing. That's all you need to do. Be aware of where you're breathing from. Are you breathing high in your chest? Are you breathing rapidly? Or are you breathing slowly? Now the next thing, just assume your body, your mind might not be at level 1. Your mind might be at level 3, 4 or 5. But assume your body's at level 1. It's joyous, it's connected, it's balanced, it's all those things. Assume your body's at level 1. And the next thing to do, I want you to think of a happy time, a recent happy time, or a mental picture of a loved one. It can be a human or an animal. Or words you need most to hear, or if you feel compassion for yourself, for others, the world, or a pleasurable sensation. Well, you should choose one of those: a happy time, the mental picture of a loved one, words you most need to hear, compassion, or a pleasurable sensation. So if you do all that, notice what happens. See if your brain state shifts at all. And if for whatever reason it doesn't, that's fine. Okay, I'd like you to bring your attention back. Did anybody find their brain state shifted? Shifted internally? Yeah, got a few notes, yeah. See how simple it is? Wasn't difficult, was it? So don't let anybody convince you you can't change your thoughts, you can't change your state. See, what that little process is, deals with the symptoms of stress, and it's a great technique. But what the healing codes do is deal with the underlying cause. That's a nice, short technique to use. Right, I'm just going to cover what's in the book very, very quickly. There's one source of disease, and that's stress. Stress is caused by an energy problem, and the energy problem is cellular memory. In other words, the energy problem is, we've already said, he said in the cartoon, the greatest user of energy in your body is your immune system. So if you're constantly preoccupied with cellular memory, then you're dumbing down your immune system, laying yourself open to illness. Does that make sense? I'll give you a classic example. I was working with a woman today who was abused as a child. She's quite happy to admit it. She don't go into detail. I don't want her to. She said, I was riding through the park to come here. We do this in an area of Warrington. Actually, it's the fire station in Warrington. And she said, I was riding past these young girls, you know, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. And she said, all I can think about is, are they safe? Yeah? So it triggered a cellular memory. Now, if she's going through life, watching the television, watching people on the street, what's going on? Imagine the energy that she's having to use to stop herself from continuously thinking about the abuse. Is you following this? So there's a classic example of how cellular memory can ruin your life. We did some work with a young bloke in his 40s in Liverpool.
We did.
It shows them getting age when I think 4 people who are 40 are young.
I noticed you saying that. 40's young then.
It is. Well, 59's young. And 83's young. Yeah. Now this individual, he was abused, wasn't he?
He didn't say it, but yeah.
We knew he was. He said everything but. And he couldn't walk down the street without seeing something on a billboard, without hearing a noise or a casual conversation. He was plunged back into that state of abuse, that cellular memory. Again, 6 minutes, sorted it.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about people who are aware of these things. Just imagine if you're not aware of it. Have ever you felt going through life, all of a sudden something's come into your mind? Where the hell did that come from? You feel depressed in an instant.
It's not like me.
Just randomly comes in. We've all experienced this, you know what I'm talking about. Because you've triggered a cellular memory. Cellular memories are stored as images. Even if you're not a person who can visualise, they're still stored in your mind in the same way as they are in the computer, as an image. So when you do this work, you'll still have the image most of the time, but all the emotions will be taken from it. We've talked about protective programming. Simply because, in other words, if you've had a traumatic experience, it's buried. So most people, the thing that causes the most problem in their lives is completely buried and unseen. You won't know this. You can heal yourself through the mind. You can also slay yourself through the mind. It's the name of a book. And the last thing is this. If you've got to make a choice between the power of willpower, the power of the mind, or the power of the heart, guess who's going to win every time? It's not the mind. The heart every time. This has an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than the brain. The brain sends signals to the mind. The heart sends signals to the brain. The brain is the dominant intelligence in the body, not the mind, not the brain. There was an experiment done, it's in Dawson Church's book, his Genie and the Genes. People were put in front of a TV screen and they were wired to various sensors, and random images were sent onto the computer. What they discovered was the heart was detecting the image 1 second before it came on the screen. And the heart was sending the signal to the brain about what the image was about, and not the other way around. The heart always wins. Anne's already mentioned this, 95% of stress is, all our illnesses, all our problems are caused by stress. The 5% that isn't from us can come through our genetic line, ancestral line. I'm not going to ask you this, because it's embarrassing for some people. How many of you believe that you're worthless, unlovable, incompetent, useless, worthless, waste of space? Most people, by the way.
Well, I was working with
You're not aware of it.
a young person today, probably in 2021. She's got diabetes, she's got arthritis, she's got something else. Okay? She was worthless. She held so much resentment for her grandfather, it was unbelievable, and she did not want to let go of it. No, can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. She did in the end, quite easily, but at first she couldn't forgive him. There was no abuse or anything like that, it wasn't that deep, but what had happened was favoured other children instead of her. But she did, after a dialogue, she did forgive him, and she just felt a huge release from it. And it was very easy, because I just said to her, well, tell me about your brother. What was his life like? And she said, well, there was 8 children, and the mother couldn't cope, so they shipped him on to an auntie. And I said, think about that. How did he feel? 7 other children stayed at home, and he was shipped off. How would your granddad feel? How would he then react? Because he wouldn't know what to do. He would always feel unwanted, unworthy, and all the things that she was feeling, and it just clicked. And she said, I can forgive him, and do forgive him. And I said, I want you to think about him now. And she said, it's not there. And I did healing codes with her, and it was amazing. But a young person that's got all this stuff, all these ailments. And that is really cellular memory, resentment, unforgiveness, all knotted up inside her. So we'll work with her again. And
We don't, half the time, we don't share these stories. We never have time
Well,
to
you
talk
didn't
about
have
it. I didn't
time.
know that.
No. You know who I was working with?
I know exactly now. It all
Her
comes
name
back
was
to me.
Victoria.
Yeah.
So, and I said to her, well, when do you want to get well? She said, in 2 years. I said, why 2 years? Well, I finished my college or whatever. I said, well, why don't you want to get well now? So we took that further. You see, if people don't know about these things, if they're not talked to, if they're not educated that they can change and they can start to heal themselves. And she was a changed person. She said, I feel so much better.
I know it's a difference, isn't
But
it?
she came and gave me a great big hug, and when we met this girl, there were 7 of them that came initially, she was very standoffish.
Do you want, I remember.
Very, very, not with me, just with all of us.
Hardly said a word.
And what a difference in, I was with her for about
Well,
45 minutes.
This is gospel truth. I didn't know it was the same person.
No.
I thought, who is that? And she was actually there the previous week, wasn't it? I didn't recognise her.
Yeah,
I thought, who is that? Who is it? Good God, it's her.
yeah.
That's so much of
The
the
whole
change.
face had changed, hadn't it?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So she's booked again, but we're not there next week, so I'll see you the week after.
So we believe in lies. And guess who invented the term coping in terms of health? All shout at once. The drug companies. They actually invented that word because what do drugs do? They enable you to cope. Now, are you put on this earth to cope? I'm not. I'm not put here to cope. I'm here to enjoy life, to help other people, and make the most of the time I'm here. I'm not here to cope. So, forget it. Coping makes things worse. The reason why coping makes things worse is you suppress the symptoms using the drugs or other stuff. So you need to change. Get rid of the stuff. Get rid of the underlying problems. Not coping, forget it.
Coping means that you actually work out how to keep those symptoms. doesn't it?
Precisely. Couldn't have put it better. Right, we're just going to show you one more short clip. And then we're going to do a demonstration. This is priceless. This is on YouTube as well, and it's called that. This is about 1.5 minutes.
They even talk to each other. Acacias can warn their neighbors of impending danger. When eaten by a browsing animal, the leaves release a gas that conveys a message to nearby trees. When the leaves receive the signal, they react in a remarkable way. Toxins spread throughout the leaves. In just 30 minutes, the leaves are laced with poisonous tannins. To avoid poisoning, giraffes and antelope only graze for short periods before they move on. Many of the secret powers of plants have just been revealed. The more we discover, the more like animals they seem. Distort our perception of time, and the similarities become clearer. Even though they lack specialized nerve cells, they do have a primitive nervous system that transmits electrical signals. Cut the grass and it reacts nervously. Electricity fires a warning bolt. This electrical impulse tells the grass to grow and become more toxic. It responds as though we were a grazing animal and fights back. Climbers, like these passion vines, have tendrils sensitive to the slightest touch. The electric message passes through the plant cell. The tendrils react by growing a spring coil clasp. If plants are so sensitive, how do household plants react to our attentions? Deprived of outside stimulation, a caring touch actually promotes growth. Even tiny voice vibrations may excite a houseplant and trigger stretch-sensitive cells responsible for growth. Best of all, the carbon dioxide from our breath is food. For plants, it's good to talk. Plants are so sensitive, some even sense the coming of storms.
Interesting, eh? So plants can do that, what can't we do? I'm sure you all know in our tsunami, in Asian tsunami, there were very few animals killed because they sensed it and ran up the road, got up on the high ground.
Well, earthquakes, isn't it? Birds and animals just migrate.
Yes. So how does this stuff work? We've already brainwashed you into believing that stress is the root of all our problems. You can't see any counters in that because it's true. So if you heal the stress, you've got to heal the cellular memory. We're not going to show you the Ben Johnson thing unless we've got time later. There's just so much to cover, so I think we'll skip now. Some of you may have heard of Royal Raymond Wright. Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah.
He was a scientist who discovered this very process and created a machine. And if any of you know anybody, the New Horizons in St Anne's in Lancashire, the partner of James Stewart who runs it has got a machine. And what it does, the machine reads the frequency of the tumour and neutralises it, so it gets rid of cancer tumours. Healing code works in the same way. And what we're using here is the energy frequency of pure love. That's a quote from the book. So there we have a diagrammatic representation. There's the wave of stress. You find the same frequency of love and they neutralise each other. But the great thing about this, and it's wonderful, that machine, you've got the machine in you. You don't need to buy a machine, you've got it. So, these are the 4 healing centres. You'll see this when we do the demonstration. It's suggested, this is the depth of knowledge, that by pointing the hands at the bridge, the Adam's apple, the jaw and the temples, they influence these centres, these parts of the body. CNS stands for central nervous system. This is as scientific as it gets, as Anne's already said. They don't know how it works. So, we would like someone to volunteer to be taken through a 6-minute demonstration. You don't have to reveal anything. It will just get rid of any stress that you're experiencing at the moment and possibly more besides. So would anybody like to volunteer? Yes.
You're all right. It'll be a tough one for you then.
And just before, is it Katie?
Yeah.
Thanks for volunteering.
Where do you want to sit? That one or this one? That one?
If we forget to say it, all that we're doing, we've learned from this book. All right, we've been doing healing for a long time, but the actual process itself, you can learn this. So what you're about to see might appear to be miraculous, but you can learn it as well. So you just want to describe what's going to happen, and then I'll
Right, well, I'm just going to say to... Right, I want you to think of something that's stressing you now. Okay. I don't need to know what it is, but I need to number 1 to 10.
Okay, 9.
Okay. I want you to feel that stress. Wherever it is in your body, feel it. And I want you to say to your body, to remember a time when you very first felt that stress within your body. And all I need is a number. Because that stress today will match up with an older stress. Just ask the mind, when did I first feel this stress? Just see what number comes up.
9.5, 10.
10. Okay.
Sometimes people might say an age, but clearly it wasn't the case, it's just identified that's the stress level. Somebody might say 4 and 4. So sometimes you need to check, is that their age? So she's got 2 pretty big issues, you know. 9 out of 10 is pretty big stuff. In fact, it doesn't get any bigger than 10. Okay. So that's how you begin this process. So in a moment I'm going to read out the prayer. And we always do this out loud, simply for the same reason as the messages from water. Thoughts influence people. You're also making a statement of intent. So whenever we both do this work, we always say this out loud. It's just something we check first.
Okay, Katie, what I want you to do when Jack said the prayer, I want you to bring in unconditional love from people that you know love you, whether it's from the spirit world, this world, the angelic world, the animal kingdom. Are you able to do that? Okay.
Some people struggle with this, by the
There's a
way.
problem there, is there?
And that's
That's
no
okay.
shame, by the way.
That's okay. Are you able to send love out?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've never found anybody who can't. If you can't feel it, fine. You can send it out.
And what we'll do later on, we'll be sending it out and be sending it out. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to receive a little bit. But we'll see. A little bit. We'll see how that goes. As long as you can send it out, pure, unconditional, from here, from your heart, that's all we want. That's all we ask. I'm just going to say the prayer. Now, how would you, in the prayer they do use the word God, are you happy with that, or would you like the universe, or whatever, you can have it to your dog if you want it, doesn't matter. I want an intention so we can start this process rolling.
Great Spirit.
Great Spirit, absolutely wonderful.
Great Spirit, that'll do me.
That sounds very spiritual to me.
And the word prayer, let go of any issues you have with that. Prayer is a statement of intention. We all use it in things. Let go of any connection to cheers, nothing to do with it.
So
You okay with that?
Okay, so Jack will say the intention, we'll use the word Great Spirit, and now I want you to just get out all this love. Okay?
The reason I read it is because we miss words out, so it's far better just to read it from the book. I pray that all known and unknown negative images, unhealthy beliefs, destructive cellular memories and all physical issues related to what Katie's identified will be found, opened and healed by filling her with the light, life and love of the Great Spirit. I also pray the effectiveness of this healing be increased by 100 times over more.
Okay, so we'll bring that, send that one back. I'm just going to work on here. And I might just say to you the odd time, just bring that, concentrate back on that love so your mind doesn't wander. Okay? We'll get the numbers down. Okay?
All that you're about to see is in the book, chapter and verse. And you don't need to touch the person, the hands are just held slightly off the head. Some people got issues with touch, not a problem. There's another marvellous spin-off from this. If you do this healing with other people, you get to a state of unconditional love yourself. So you're helping the process and you're also experiencing unconditional love. So everybody wins. The 6 minutes comes from 4 hand positions, 30 seconds roughly around each of the 4 areas. That's 2 minutes, 3 times.